Matt. Matt. Can you hear me?
Why am I here?
You volunteered.
Yeah, that's what everyone keeps saying, but what for exactly?
We, the people at ST Biomedical, are advancing humankind.
We're in a different and more dangerous kind of race.
We're redesigning the human body.
You've heard of nano-weapons?
Welcome to Spindle Control 2. This is only just the beginning. I didn't anticipate an ethical crisis. You and me to do great things in the name of science for humanity.
You didn't make me into anything.
It was the perfect specimen.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie and find us on Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Del Vecchio. With me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Myers. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, friends.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to apologize right off the bat if during this opening segment you hear some meowing from a cat. I forgot to close my bedroom door. So after we do this open, I will get her out of this room. So anyway.
Oh, I thought that was the bit.
No, that's not the bit. She's literally here under my legs.
This is a two-parter.
Yeah, she cries real loud. So I do apologize for that. Yeah, my point was being real short here. I just want to say I will get into why later in the show, but I apologize for the choice this week, and I have learned that I should probably do more than just read the description and look at the cover art. And I do apologize for that.
That is a good thing to do going forward, I think. For all of us. For all of us, not just you, for all of us, because I think we've all been a victim of just the look of a movie.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, my first thought was this looks like an Asylum movie with David Arquette in it. Should be great.
Oh, I wish this was an Asylum movie. Holy shit.
I want to peek into your brain. That you heard those things back to back, and you're like, this should be great. Because that's not what I think. It's weeks like these where I think about the choices we make in life and how they get us to where we are in our lives.
Yeah, some mine are confusing to all. I know that.
I feel like we'd be sitting here watching a different movie if, like, you know, Bernie won in 2016 or something like that.
Yeah,
the ripple effects.
Go back further to Gore.
The ripple effects. You know.
I mean, what we've been watching here if the Cleveland Indians won the World Series in 2016.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or if we didn't waste God's goodwill on the Cubs.
Exactly.
that was it. That was where it peaked.
And God was like, "Are you sure? This is what you? Okay, I'll see you in like 20 years." I guess.
Mm-hmm. What if it was one of those things where, yeah, you go back far enough, everything's great, and it's like, yeah, we don't need to make these movies anymore. There's just there's no need for these movies. Everything's just so good that we don't need to churn out Asylum style movies. Asylum never existed after that.
Yeah, they're like, you know what, guys? We made 5-headed shark attack. It's like, I think we're done.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
There's nowhere to go from here.
Right, everyone is doing well in life at that point, right? There's no student debt. People aren't drowning in medical debt either. There's no homelessness. Everyone's good. Everyone's happy. There's no there's no guy who's struggling to make it as a writer, and he's just like pissed off that he can't make it in Hollywood because everything's great. Like he can't make it in Hollywood, but it's like, yeah, whatever. You know, I'm not struggling in life. I don't need to make another Sharknado.
Yeah. Well,
What
join
could
us
have been?
next week. Join us next week.
Yeah.
We'll watch another movie and we'll talk about that instead.
Yeah, talk about how depressing it is.
So check us out on our socials. No, we actually did watch a movie this week.
I wonder if
Unfortunately.
that'll ever happen to us, where we watch a movie. Not saying that this is it, but we'll watch a movie and then before we record, we kind of sit down and just think, yeah, maybe there's nothing there. Maybe we just kind of.
Yeah, it's very rare in the instances where I've thrown up the flag, you know, while watching a movie, where it's like, I got nothing for this.
Yeah,
It's been a while. I think my last one was like Biker Boys.
I think so.
Biker Boys, okay.
Biker Boys, where it's like, I don't see it.
I'm generally mad at myself that I didn't realize that it was opening week for baseball. You know, because it's March. Why would I think that?
Right.
And you know, would have picked a baseball movie this week. But by the time I realized that also Anne had already watched this movie, so there was no pulling back at that point.
Yeah, well, I did finish. So I watched this movie in 30-minute increments.
Yeah.
Over the course of the mornings while feeding my son.
Yeah.
While I was captive, and I finished it off this afternoon. So.
Yeah.
But we did watch a movie, and Mark is Mark's pick. We already dragged him through the mud. So Mark, why don't you tell us what movie you picked this week? Yeah.
So this week I picked 2099, The Soldier Protocol. It was on Tubi, and like I had said earlier, I literally should probably read a little bit deeper and maybe watch trailers sometimes because while my hit rate's pretty good in terms of at least being decent with my choices, I do tend to my floor is really low when I really miss. So maybe I should do a better job and pick. But anyway, so I had assumed this movie was going to be basically what the sequel to this movie is probably, if they make one. Because this movie was like, hey guys, you like The Bourne Identity, right? Why don't we just watch a whole movie on how he becomes Jason Bourne and set it in one location for 2 hours or hour and a half, whatever this was. You guys would like that. Instead of dealing with the flashbacks, we'll show you step by step how Jason Bourne became Jason Bourne. Every minute detail in this super soldier creation. And it was more boring than it was than it should have been. But yeah, I'm really I did apologize already, but I thought there would be a lot more story and action to it than this movie actually provided. And I was holding a low bar to how much story and action I wanted, and it somehow did not cross that bar. So this movie stars WCW World Heavyweight Champion David Arquette. And I put star in quotes because he's just basically sitting in the chair for 90% of the movie, doing nothing besides saying crazy jargon. And yeah, this very much seems like a movie that somebody got to make because they know someone.
So, 2099, The Soldier Protocol from 2019 is directed by D. McLaughlin, who's directed Scavengers, Double O Kid, Running Wild, The Psycho Jungle Book, Mowgli, and Baloo. Everest, The Promise, 10 Terrorists, Out of the Shadows. Stars David Arquette, Jackson Gallagher, Kendall Ray, Belinda McClory, Christopher Kirby, Ben Steele, Victoria Liu, and Weena Royce. IMDb score of 3.8, Rotten Tomatoes score of 12%. Plot. David Arquette really wanted a free trip to Australia, so he showed up to set for 2 days in order to make this generic super soldier movie and stare at computer screens while he half-heartedly delivered his dialogue. What starts off as uninteresting mystery with needlessly hostile, faceless organization eventually devolves into walking down corridors and fighting masked guardsmen. Paraplegic prisoner Matt Mills is coerced into volunteering into a program that promises to get him to walk again, but not without first subjecting him to mental and physical torture, potentially just for kicks. But Matt Mills breaks out with the help of one of the observing doctors, forcing David Arquette to eventually get out of his desk chair and see what all the commotion is about. Part Upgrade, part Winter Soldier, part Morbius. this last statement makes it sound more interesting than it actually is.
Yeah, and
So
I'll say
Dan-
one thing: if you would have told me that this was just David Arquette acting with a bunch of AI actors, I would have believed you.
Yeah, I could see that. Dan, where are you coming from? 2099, The Soldier Protocol.
Yeah, when I said at the beginning of the show that I wish that this had been an Asylum movie, I mean that in a way where this movie lacks creativity and it lacks charm. It's a soulless movie. Because with an Asylum movie, you know it's ripping off something. We covered Atlantic Rim, which obviously ripped off Pacific Rim, but at least they had scenes that took place in different venues. This movie takes place in 2 rooms and a hallway, essentially. It's dark, it's dreary looking, it's ugly looking. The lighting is off in a lot of the scenes. When I first saw it and I saw that it's the Soldier Protocol, I figured it was going to be about David Arquette being kind of like, have you guys ever seen the Universal Soldier movies?
Yes.
Right? It's like
I
the
know where you're going
older,
with
yeah, it's like an older soldier who is like genetically perfected to be the perfect soldier and always follow their orders. And then they finally kind of like break out of that trance or that programming to help the less fortunate. So I think there's a Kurt Russell movie that's a Universal Soldier, right?
I think it might be the first one.
Maybe, yeah. There's Dolph Lundgren one, I believe.
Bill Goldberg's in one.
Oh, great. It always comes back to Bill Goldberg. But yeah, I thought it was going to be something along those lines. Maybe you know where I'm going with this. I thought it was going to be like a Wolverine movie. Because, if you think about it, right? Yeah, if you watch the movie, the main character is a paraplegic, and they say we're gonna put you through this experimental procedure, and you'll be able to get your ability to walk back. So I was like, all right, cool. So he goes through the procedure, and like, all right, well, they're gonna turn him into a Wolverine type character where he's gonna be like indestructible, but he's gonna blindly follow orders, right? Which is half true in a way, but the movie just takes place, 90% of it just takes place in this one fucking holding room. And I grew so bored watching this, because every time I would look down at my phone, or I was watching this while I was working, I would look back up, they were still in the room. Like, Jesus, can we not find another place to do this? But yeah, I think that this movie probably poured all of their budget into getting David Arquette, so they couldn't fabricate another setting. I mean, yeah, I don't know. This was just a very bland movie.
Yeah. And Kurt Russell's movie is Soldier from 1998. Universal
okay.
Soldier stars Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, sorry.
Right.
My apologies to the muscles from Brussels.
No, I got it confused as well. So,
Mark,
yeah,
where are you coming from?
So, yeah, a little bit deeper than what I opened with. You could have convinced me as well that this was one of those COVID movies that they shot entirely on Zoom. And, it was just these backgrounds were green screen because everything was so generic and so truncated to, like, literally I'm pretty sure that the set where they're all in front of the computers is just basically just one of the rooms where he fights guys in, with just the computers in the room. Like, I don't think they built a third room to be the computer room. Sure. So the set consists of, like Dan said, one room, one hallway, and then the entranceway to the building, which could have completely been shot on those Star Wars screens that they use for Mandalorian. That didn't have to be a real place. Basically helmed by what I only assume is a living AI robot that greets everyone at the door there. But yeah, I was expecting more, like, as I said earlier, what this entire movie is I thought would be like the first 15 minutes, and then he'd be out doing missions as the soldier protocol. You know, like that was like, you know, exactly what this movie leads to at the end is what I thought would be the whole movie. You know, like the two of them escape and then they go on the run, or they go save his daughter or whatever, you know, that's the movie. Not what they do in this. And it's one of those things where I know I always say a lot on this podcast that I wouldn't mind if they explained a couple things to me. Sometimes I say that in jest just to, you know, keep with the bit. But I mainly say it for movies like this, where it's like they introduce something and then like don't explain at all. Like when, like why, like they pull the mask off the one soldier he beats up and he's like struggling for air and all that. And you're like, okay, why? Like there's nothing here. Like there are people like, if David Arquette and all would have been a mask and oxygen stuff, I'm like, all right, this facility's so far underground, you know, blah, blah, blah. But like,
real quick, Mark,
Yeah.
Maybe I missed something, but the box art or the cover art for this
Yeah.
shows it's David Arquette flanked by two soldiers.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's a city that is overtaken by a massive blizzard, or it looks like an apocalyptic setting.
yes,
But
which is what got me excited.
Yeah, I don't think that's explained. I don't think that's shown in this. I don't think there is an apocalypse. It's just there's a bunker maybe, or there's a facility, but no one tells us where we are.
Yeah, the blizzard is just a mountain. I'm assuming it's probably somewhere in Canada. Is where my assumption is where this got shot and supposedly takes place. Or Alaska, to get your X-Men reference. Continuing. But yeah, like everything about that box art and just the title overall and all that made me think this movie is much different than it was. And even I think it's the lack of explanation. Like the movie doesn't need to be longer. This isn't one of those where I say that and I make Anthony angry. Saying the movie needs to be 10 minutes longer. And all that. It doesn't need to be. Like there are perfectly spots in this movie that they could like just explain something and give it a little more, you know, background or whatever, to make me understand what's going on, because essentially it's so straightforward that it makes it boring. If that makes sense. Like it's essentially just these two scientists watching this soldier that they're testing beat the crap out of people and possibly kill them. Definitely kill them actually. And then they escape. And like, there's no like, what are they testing them for? Like, why are they okay with them escaping? Is the one doctor in on it? Which I think she is. You know, was this whole ploy to just get David Arquette to become a test subject? Like, there's so much this movie just doesn't explain, because I guess it's trying to be mysterious, or maybe they were just trying to get on the hook for a second movie. Yeah, it's again, I strongly apologize because I feel like I got bamboozled by not investigating this movie enough. So probably mostly on me.
Okay, and it was shot in Melbourne, Australia.
Okay.
That's
your Australian joke. Got it. Okay.
Yes. As for me, I take back everything I said about Atlantic Rim. It was a fine film, and I wish we watched it again. Oof. Boy, guys, this, you know, they in like avid book reader like circles, they call things DNF. Did not finish.
Yeah.
And I was so close to DNFing this. And I've never not finished a movie watching in the 300 episodes that we've done. I've never not finished a movie. I was so close. I had about 40 minutes left this evening, and my wife was putting the kid to sleep, giving him his last bottle of the night. So I had like 40 minutes to myself, and I chose that time to finish this movie. And I don't know if I'm better for it, but I'm going to pat myself on the back for my own stick-to-itiveness this evening, because it would have been so easy to not finish this film. Yeah. Oof. For some reason I expected David Arquette to be in this movie more, but also I expected him to not be sitting as much, because this guy was in vacation mode.
He pulled a Cameron Mitchell.
Yes, 100%. I think he was on set for 2 days maximum. He got a free trip to Australia out of it. and the rest is history.
You can't knock the hustle.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If that's all came out of it, then God bless them. But I think I should be talking about the actual movie at some point. But there's so not a whole lot here. This makes me want to ban Asylum movies, but the problem is that this isn't an Asylum movie.
And it's
Like-
not even like a Tubi original.
Yeah, this is not good enough for an Asylum. Asylum passed on this basically.
They have standards.
They're like, and this movie pissed me off right down to the font of the credits, because they have the sci-fi font where like all the A's don't have like the middle part of the A, so it's just like a upside down V for the A's.
Yeah,
and then the title of the film doesn't have a single A in it.
It doesn't have the same font.
Also, yes. So I was like, what was the point? It's because David Arquette's got 2 A's in his name. Like, oh, this font will look cool when David Arquette's name pops up.
I didn't notice that. That's a good point, though.
Yeah. But to your point, the credits didn't even have the same font of the title, so that was doubly why do it. But that was the point. That was early, and that was when I was still hopeful, because like the black like goo kind of like nanotechnology stuff was like the highlight of the movie. It was the opening credits. It was like, oh, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah, you're right.
Like,
I think how long did it take for you to lose interest? Because you were watching in 30-minute increments.
I think like with all these movies, like tempered my expectations, because I think not long after we started this podcast in general that I started to move away from the Asylum sort of movies, and this felt like I could smell the Asylum on this. So like the bar I was expecting wasn't particularly high, and I think I made it probably the first half hour. So like maybe when he starts to stand, like the first moments after he wakes up for the first time, I think I made it that far.
Okay. Yeah. I think
yeah. So I think I watched about the first 50 minutes of it, no phone, because I was feeding my son for those, and then the last 40 minutes or so, 35 minutes, I think it was. Totally, I'm on my phone this entire time.
Yeah.
I think even for me choosing the movie, I think I tapped out right around the time you were mentioning when he wakes up, and I go, oh, this is the whole movie.
Yeah,
it slowly dawned on me too. Like, I was like, they're never leaving this room, are they?
Like, oh no, I made a huge mistake, and that was even after you guys warned me in the chat.
Yeah, I don't understand why this company is so aggressive. Like this guy is a prisoner, can't walk. Like you catch more flies with honey.
Sure.
Like I was thinking about like I think I mentioned in my plot, like Upgrade, very similar plot, right? Guy's paralyzed, and this weirdo billionaire offers him a chance to walk again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he accepts because he wants to walk again. You don't need to go through this whole song and it has this whole like, oh, you volunteered. I don't remember volunteering. Oh, you didn't volunteer? Well, we'll send you right back. It's like, come on, I don't need to be a part. I don't need to be witness to all of this crap.
I'm assuming. Well, that's another
spare
part.
Spare the audience.
Right.
I think they did that whole explanation thing, and I think it was supposed to be there because at the end you find out the twist.
Explain the twist to me. I don't know what it is.
Is that company set everything up in that guy's life? They were the ones that were there that killed his wife, that got him sent to prison. Then they orchestrated the accident that made him paralyzed because they knew he was the one for this program.
Yeah. First rule. I go finish your thought.
I was gonna say that was their twist, which and this isn't a disparaging comment I'm saying, but you were probably on your phone when they explained all this in a very just in dialogue, like scenes.
100%. I was on my phone, but however, I'm not going to blame myself. You have to earn a twist.
Yes.
If you are a filmmaker, if you are a writer, and you didn't earn the twist in this movie
it sounds like this is a direct copy of Upgrade for the most part. The plot of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's all
nutshell.
set up. Spoiler alert, Upgrade, that was all set up too.
Yeah, the guy who in Upgrade, the guy who gives not Tom Hardy the titular Upgrade is the one who set up the accident, set up the killing of the wife, so that he could become paralyzed. So it's a 1-to-1 copy.
Oh man, Upgrade's on Netflix, guys. I might watch that this week.
It's so good.
Just wash out the.
Go watch Upgrade instead of 2099.
Yeah, Upgrade is awesome. I saw that I think I was like the one of 2 people in the theater watching that.
I'm jealous.
Yeah,
you recommended that to us when you first saw it.
That might have been a Movie Pass movie because I saw that at the Regal in the Morristown Mall. Not even an AMC.
Yeah, just
it's around the same time.
Yeah,
just help you guys make a decision to not watch this movie. The final twist is that the doctor that we thought was the good doctor turns out to be in on the whole thing and is basically double crossing the guy, but he doesn't know it yet. That's the big final twist of the movie. So there you have it. Spoiled it all for you. You can go watch Upgrade, a better movie.
It's so stupid. Like,
yes, it is.
From the parts that I watched with my full attention, that makes no sense.
Yeah, she does that. She does that really stupid thing where looks into the security camera because she knows the bad, like the evil people of the corporation are watching, and sort of does like a head nod to them as they're walking out the door, escaping in quotes.
It's also stupid.
Yeah. Because what is the end game for this movie? Like Upgrade has an end game.
They don't say. That was part of the part that made me like I'm like, at no point, even if you want to leave it hanging because you're, for some unknown reason, are hoping to get a sequel out of this movie, at some point in the movie, you need to explain why you're doing the project. Because all they say throughout the movie is that they're trying to help humanity. Well, why? Are they building super soldiers because it's a post-apocalyptic world? Are they trying to help the rich be able to live forever? Like, what is the end goal here? Why are you letting him escape with your double agent? Like, like Ann said, you have to earn all these twists, and at no point do they earn the twist, nor do they give you a reason to go, yeah, that was it the whole time. Like, none of it makes sense.
The twist should have been they get the main character. What's his name again? Matthew. So they bring Matthew in and they say, listen, we're developing this serum or this procedure that will help wounded soldiers, people with birth defects, stuff like that, so they can walk again, or just give them a better life, right? Mm-hmm. And the twist winds up being, like you said, Mark, this is actually going to we're going to sell this on the black market so that the highest bidder can create super soldiers, or it'll help wealthy people live longer. That should have been the twist, right? Where you have Matthew fully on board. You're not torturing him. You're not putting him through a gauntlet of just fighting faceless enemy after faceless enemy in one room. It's like, all right, like he's willingly doing this stuff because he thinks I'm the one helping future generations, But and then like the reason why he breaks out is because he realizes, oh, I'm being used. But that none of that is here. He's just they just say, all right, we're gonna help you walk again, and then they just torture the shit out of him.
Yeah, the only time they mention anything like that is David Arquette's character when he's holding them at gunpoint. Ask her who's she's selling them to, who's the buyer, and he says it like twice, and it's the only time anything like that is mentioned at all. And when he said it, I was like, oh, like my pick was like, oh, that's a good twist. If this is like some sort of thing where she's like kidnapping him for like, if that was the twist, like she's kidnapping him for some rival company for money. But okay, it sucks, but at least that's something. And then it turns out not to be that. It was real bad.
I have a suggestion of a twist. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
They go through all the rigmarole, right? So he tries to escape. All of a sudden, eventually, bullet between the eyes or something more interesting than bullet between the eyes. Boom. Yeah. Check on him. He dies. Flatlines. Boom. Right? And say, well, number 21, not fitting the profile. Dispose of him. We'll get started number 22. Right? Boom.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he goes back to the beginning, and you're seeing number 22. It's Matt Mills again, going through it all over again from the stuff from sitting down, paralyzed with the board, and their clones.
Oh, so
that's
we
a good
got
twist.
we got a moon situation going.
Yeah, moon situation.
Nice.
And it just
Okay,
like
that
it's like, oh, it's starting all over again.
Yeah, it's like it's basically purgatory for Matthew Mills.
Mm-hmm.
I like
Keep
that.
going through it.
Yeah,
and
that's
that
a good
even
one.
ties into the one thing that they're trying to point in this movie is that he has something in his genes that makes him a good match for whatever they're trying to experiment on. So the idea of just constant clones of this one guy actually fits a lot better into the storyline than what they come up with here.
Yeah, that works too. It's just they know this guy for whatever reason. They picked him out from a group, right? Number one, Matthew Mills, number one. He had the perfect DNA match. He was compatible. Blah blah blah. Like he was able to survive the first time. So like, all right, we just need to keep cloning him, and then we can tweak the serum, right? Because I think the serum is like A57 or something like that. So that would lead me to believe that they've done it 57 times.
Yeah, the serum that they put into him has some longer, ridiculous name. The one you're thinking of is the stupid thing that David Arquette sprays in his eyes to let him not be empathetic anymore.
Oh,
which is
okay.
really dumb.
Okay, gotcha.
Maybe they should have done like the Amazing Bulk and just changed the serum to purple.
Yeah.
Make it work.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the antidote is blue in this one.
Oh, man, that I will say this movie was better than the Bulk.
Yes, if we can say anything, yes.
For all of its many shortcomings, it's far superior than the Amazing Bulk.
Yes. I mean, that was barely a movie.
Yeah, I think that still holds the crown for. Like, it's going to be tough to dethrone that as the worst movie of all time that we've watched.
Yeah, I think so. I don't really have any more to say about this movie.
Yeah, I just wish I got duped like people used to get duped at the video store when they would pick VHSs off the rack just based on the cover.
Mark's a grandma.
I'm a grandma.
Yeah. Oh, you like this? Grandma, this is like the fake Snow White.
You like soldiers, don't you, Sonny?
Final thoughts, Dan?
Yeah, well, we've mentioned a couple of really good movies that you could just go watch instead, right? We said Soldier with Kurt Russell, Upgrade.
Even Universal Soldier with JV.
Yeah, even Universal Soldier with Bill Goldberg.
Yep, the third.
Yeah, I think most of the time, and I'll kind of leave it short here, but most of the time, the movies that we watch, we can kind of understand what they were trying to accomplish in the movie. Like, they were trying to do this, but they couldn't get there because of X, Y, and Z, right? Like they're not talented enough, so on and so forth. But you understand what the goal was. This might be one of the first movies I can remember in a long time that we've covered that I don't understand what their goal was. I don't understand who they were making this for. I don't understand why they were making this, unless it was just one of those things where you, like a Blumhouse, right? You make a shitty horror movie for $8 million. It makes $12-15 million, and then you just kind of, lather, rinse, and repeat. I don't know if that's what this was, but if so, it was a very, very poor quality one.
All right, Mark.
Yeah, so my final thoughts is definitely judge a book by its cover and look into it more, or maybe don't judge, whatever. You know what I'm saying. Watch trailers to make sure that it is the right movie. Because literally, as we discussed, the box art for this makes it looks like David Arquette is leading a group of soldiers through a winter post-apocalyptic world. And that is absolutely not what happens in this movie at all. But yeah, essentially, like I said, this feels like an hour and a half movie that is what a normally good super soldier movie shows in a 5-minute flashback. And that is why it feels so boring and long, because we don't need to know all the minute details, this is serum C4N CB2 that we put into them, and just stupid stuff like that. They didn't even have cool names for the stuff they were injecting. The only line in this whole movie that that they use to describe what they were doing, and I will actually take as a good line, and probably was like the genesis thought for this writer before he realized that he couldn't really write a movie, or maybe he never realized that. Is when he's asking about the serum, and she goes, "Well, essentially, it's the nanomachines in your system, and every time you get an injury, the nanomachines fix that thing." And she says, "It's essentially what doesn't kill you makes you stronger." And I'm like, that's actually should have been like the tagline for the entire movie, and as he goes and fights things, and gets stronger. But yeah, I wish this was more than it was. That is the only saving grace, not even a saving grace, but like the only thing where I can kind of see where the idea for this movie got started. And then the guy didn't know how to write outside of that singular line and concept. So don't watch it. Go watch Upgrade, Universal Soldier, basically any movie except The Incredible Bulk. Literally any other movie we've covered.
Yeah, don't watch that.
Speaking of what doesn't kill you make you stronger, I think the end credits song, they should have spent a little money to get Stronger by Kelly Clarkson. That would have been great. As opposed to the other song that they had, which was incredibly inappropriate for this type of movie. But yeah, it's not good. It's boring. It's not fun, bad. David Arquette doesn't need to be in this, but you know what? You got a free trip to Australia out of it. Watch Upgrade. Don't watch this. Don't watch Asylum movies. They're crass money grabbers that sucker poor defenseless people like Mark to watching them.
Yeah.
It's a scam.
It's a scam.
Stop scamming adults.
Stop scamming adults into thinking your movies are good.
And it's just my face on the cover of the PSA, like those people that are pose for stock photos that have no idea where their photos are going.
Mark thought this movie would be in our Q zone.
It's definitely not in my Q zone.
It's not in our Q zone.
Yeah, that's it. Just don't do it. Don't watch it. And yeah, that's this episode for 2099, the Soldier Protocol. We're going to take a quick break and do our final segment. But before we do, Dan, what do you have for us?
Although I don't think I deserve to, or Mark does deserve this after this week's episode. I'm still going to plug it because Mark works very hard on it, and it's still a good show.
I swear I make better choices on that podcast.
You do, and it leads me to believe that you care about that podcast more than this one. So we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to talk a little bit off mic. The show I am talking about, of course, is the Game Vault podcast with our very own Mark Myers and our good friend Tom, and that is a video game podcast. Comes out every week. It's on any platform of your choice. So I would highly recommend you check it out if you are into video games, even the smallest bit, and even more so if you're not really sure, because Mark covers video game news, upcoming video games. He's playing games that he thinks would be a good fit for you guys. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy watching him on Twitch over at Game Vault Pod. He plays old school games. He plays newer games. I almost said new school games. That's not a thing. But he's playing a plethora of games, and it's a lot of fun. Again, he puts a lot of work into it. So please go follow him on Twitch, subscribe, throw him some money for his hard work. Go on your podcatcher of choice, leave a review, and follow him. You won't regret it.
Okay, great. We're going to take a quick break. You guys are going to listen to some ads. We pay those bills, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time for our last segment, and this week we are finishing out our March Madness bracket. So, as last left off, we had our Elite Eight matchups all squared away, and Dan's going to take us through them. So, Dan, take us through it.
All right, guys. So, we have Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. We have Friday the 13th Part 4, Major League 3 Back to the Minors, Mom and Dad Save the World, Skyscraper, Stone Cold, My Teacher, My Obsession, and Faithful Findings. So I think we have some good matchups here. Maybe one that could be better, but I like what I'm seeing so far, and I hope you guys feel the same way.
Yep.
All
right. So yeah, we're gonna do it as we've been running this the past 2 episodes, where we'll go back and forth on who, and it's a majority rule, so 2 out of 3 selects the winner. So where do you guys want to start? We've been starting with the horror bracket, but do you want to jump around? How do you guys want to do it?
I'm okay starting where we've been starting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, let's kick it off with Halloween 3 and Friday the 13th Part 4. Mark, because I think Ant, you started last week. Mark, what are you going with?
And this is the toughest one on the board for me, so I'll start so I don't just make it seem like I'm just following Anthony. Yeah, so of the ones that are left, this is the toughest choice for me because I do enjoy both movies very much, and especially in this category. You know, Halloween Season of the Witch, we've mentioned before, always a great discussion with it. We had a great podcast. Some of us own merchandise relating to it. Friday the 13th Part 4, you know, is probably the best Friday the 13th. And, you know, it sort of peaks there and goes down. So 2 very, very qualified winners here. But I'm gonna have to stick with it. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I'm sticking with Tom Atkins and Halloween 3.
Okay. I'm gonna agree. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch was one of the first movies we wanted to watch for this podcast. It's the reason why we do 31 Days of Horror. There's really not much to say besides Tom Atkins. Once again, Tom Atkins laying pipe.
He's carrying that.
Yep.
He's carrying the movie, him laying pipe. Yeah, I agree with you guys. Personally, to me, this was the weakest matchup in the Elite Eight. I think Halloween 3 has a better story than Friday the 13th Part 4, which is my favorite Friday the 13th. But I enjoyed what Halloween 3 was trying to do by breaking away from Michael Myers. And just a more interesting plot to me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, definitely moving on. All right, on to the comedy section. Major League 3 versus Mom and Dad Save the World. Ant.
This one is not particularly difficult for me. It's Mom and Dad Save the World. Yeah. John Lovitz carries the movie. There's nothing in Major League Back to the Minors that kind of compares to the performance of John Lovitz in Mom and Dad Save the World. So on that alone, I got to go with that.
Yeah. And I agree 100% there. The one thing I will say, Major League 3 Back to the Minors is a lot better than I thought it would be. Because I think I only watched it once when it came back out and probably dismissed it because of how much I liked Major League 2. But Mom and Dad Save the World is a spectacular movie that is partially of its time, but also timeless. It's kind of like there's very, very particular mid to late 80s, early 90s stuff in that movie, on top of still being something that I would assume people today could still watch and get entertainment out of. So for me, like I said, the next 3 matchups, I pretty much know what I'm picking without a problem, and this one's very, very easy. Mom and Dad Save the World.
Okay. I'm breaking away from you guys on this one because I hold a soft spot for Major League 3. It's nowhere near as good as 1 and 2, but I always thought Ted McGinley as the Twins coach was funny. He's very bombastic with how he berates his players and just clearly hates them. That always made me laugh. A young Walton Goggins in it as Downtown. Was it Billy Downtown? I forget the last name, but he as Downtown. I liked his character. I don't care much for Scott Bakula though. He's okay. He's fine.
Yeah,
but
he's very Scott Bakula.
Yeah. Just bring that old man energy.
Yeah,
and he's not a particularly old man in that movie though. I have an affinity towards the Major League movies, but I have been outvoted, and Mom and Dad Save the World moves on to the final 4. All right, now on to the action bracket: Skyscraper versus Stone Cold. Mark.
So for me, this one's very, very easy. Stone Cold, landslide for me.
Okay.
It was a movie that I thought I would really enjoy, and it somehow cleared that bar. It's one of my choices that I'm very, very glad that I put on this podcast for us to watch. It's one of those. It's probably one of my best hit rate for choices here, and it's a movie that I would watch today if I still had basic cable and it popped on. I don't know if I could sit through Skyscraper. Maybe not sit through is the wrong way of putting it, but I would definitely be more likely to watch Stone Cold on multiple viewings than I would Skyscraper. So easy one for me with Stone Cold.
Okay. I'm picking this in gamesmanship because I think I know where Dan's going to go with this. So I'm going to pick Skyscraper. I have to give some love to basically the patron saint movie of our podcast, because this whole podcast was an idea because I wanted to watch Skyscraper in conjunction with the release of The Rock's Skyscraper. So I'm going to pick Skyscraper. I think I know where Dan's going to go with this, so I'm picking Skyscraper.
Yeah, I was so sure going into it. I was like, yeah, this is an easy one. But Anthony makes a good argument for Skyscraper because like you said, this movie was really kind of like what kicked us off. Although it wasn't the very first episode,
right?
It was where we kind of decided, the direction of the podcast. And much like you guys, it does hold a special place in my heart. But that being said, Stone Cold is a much better movie.
100%.
Yeah, it had everything in it. It just, and I think I might have said it in the previous episodes that we've been doing this, that Stone Cold is the diamond in the rough of this podcast, where I don't think any of us expected it to be as good as it was.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, I have to go Stone Cold.
Fair.
Yeah. Yep. It was much closer than I thought it was going to be, if that helps. All right. My Teacher, My Obsession, and Fateful Findings. Ant, what are you thinking?
So, to me, this is the toughest choice of this round.
Interesting.
But, I am hashtag Team Kyla, but I think that ends here. Because when you go up against the Brenius, it's tough sledding. This is the best Neil Breen movie ever made. We've talked about it. The No More Books scene. I can't believe you committed suicide. There's no way of getting you out of this one, Jim.
Oh, it's so good.
Of course, the ending where, sometimes you wish art or life imitates art sometimes, wishful thinking. But yeah, Fateful Findings is Neil Breen at his peak, and Kyla can't overcome that. Just too much.
Yeah, so it's another one where I'm going to toss it into Dan's hands. I am Team Kyla, and I will stay loyal to her, and I will choose My Teacher, My Obsession. I am very partial to movies that surprise me. In this when we do the podcast here, and that movie was much better than had any right being, and it has now become one of the meme/bits of this podcast. And I will leave it to Dan to decide who goes up against the Boz in the next round.
Okay. As you guys know, I've never been Team Kyla. I'm strictly anti Team Kyla. I think as interesting of a movie as My Teacher, My Obsession is, and as crazy as it is, you can't out crazy Breen. It's impossible. Kyla runs into a buzzsaw here, unfortunately. You try to match that level, and it's almost unobtainable.
Yeah.
Especially with Fateful Finding. Anthony, you mentioned a couple of the classic scenes. Just I laughed so hard when he discovered his friend had committed suicide and says the same line 8 times. I could not stop laughing watching that movie. Fateful Findings for me takes the cake. and moves on to, and it's the final entry into the final four. So we have our final four: Halloween 3, Mom and Dad Save the World, Stone Cold, and Fateful Findings. Where we'll go left to right again, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So Halloween 3 versus Mom and Dad Save the World. I think this is the toughest one for me. So Mark, what do you think?
Which side are we starting on again? I'm sorry.
The left.
The left. Okay. I didn't know if you're going to switch it up because that's my tougher one.
Okay.
You know what? Ant makes a great point. It's Tom Atkins laying pipe. I mean, that's entirely too hard to beat.
Well, but before you make your decision, just in fairness, laying pipe, going up against John Lovitz.
And let's not forget the light grenade too.
Oh,
Great
the
scene.
light grenade.
That's a good scene. That's a very good scene. So I just wanted to kind of give,
I think for this final four, yeah. If you feel like if you need to persuade somebody, I think you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. You make a good point about the light grenade scene. That's
Light Grenade's a good scene. Does Halloween 3 Season of the Witch have a scene as good as Light Grenade? That's a good question.
Don't know.
What
but on the flip side, does Mom and Dad Save the Universe have a song as catchy as the
Silver Shamrock song?
They do have the wedding song.
Yeah.
Today Marge Nelson becomes Marge Spangler.
You know what? You did a good job of persuading, or I'm just a really weak man. I think and it's not for anything we mentioned. What popped in my head that finally made the to go over the top to I will pick Mom and Dad Save the World. Just because our Get Ready With Me TikTok exploded, and that is one of the most fun social media moments that we've had, and a very, very good job by Anthony.
Okay. Give me Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Put it on the board.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, Dan. Which one, Dan?
Oh, wow. Now, to me, when I first saw this, at first glance, I was like, oh, this will be easy. But now, I fully expected Anthony to make that decision for me. Oof. Because Mom and Dad Save the World is another hidden gem where I knew nothing about it, but I don't want to say I was hooked, but I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed it. Oh, I'm legitimately nervous for this pick. I don't want to pick the wrong one. I love me some Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and it has the Silver Shamrock song, but it also has a kid, his face melting.
That's pretty cool.
I think that's what puts it over the top for me.
Yep.
I gotta go Halloween 3.
It's got Stonehenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's got child murder. The whole plot revolves around child murder.
The fact that it had the balls to straight up murder a child to a happy song, to the Silver Shamrock song, no less. I think that's what does it for me. So Halloween 3 moves on to the finals, and who will it go up against? Who went first? Mark, you went first last time?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so Ant, what does Halloween 3 Season of the Witch go up against?
Before we move on, I feel incredibly duped.
I wasn't trying to dupe you, I swear.
I was a little bit.
I legitimately wanted to kind of have a little discussion before, because Halloween 3 had just kind of mowed its way through.
Mm-hmm.
God, I kind of want this to be a little bit more of a little more discussion. But I promise you, I wasn't trying to pull the rug out from under you, Mark.
No, I just wanted to see. I 100% was going Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and I just wanted to see how much we could convince Mark. And I'm glad you did, because it gave us a better discussion.
Yeah. It worked out great.
Here, I have not picked Stone Cold except for No Holds Barred throughout this entire tournament. Easy one, yeah. And I think that's going to continue. Again, my teacher, my obsession couldn't handle the 1980s Joe Montana that is Fateful Findings.
But Ant, does Fateful Findings have a helicopter go through a window, a motorcycle go through a window and destroy a helicopter?
It doesn't. But I think when we play games that I'm involved in, we realized that like my go-to isn't necessarily like these TBS action movies, you know?
Right. That's a good way to describe Stone Cold.
Yeah. Perfect for TBS, the Superstation. Perfect Superstation movie. And that's just not my go-to.
Okay.
I'm not saying that Neil Breen is my go-to, but it's just so absurd. Like a David Lynch would be probably my go-to, and I think Neil Breen is closer to David Lynch than Bosworth is to Neil Breen.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I gotta go Fateful Findings here.
Okay, Mark, before you jump in, can I go next? Just because I want to make it a little more difficult.
Sure.
Because I'm
going. Go ahead.
I'm going Stone Cold
Okay.
because, and not that it it doesn't out crazy Neil Breen, but it has Brian Bosworth failing. Our hero fails. He has a pet Komodo dragon that he feeds Snickers bars. He gets the woman, the love interest killed. There are there's TNA in it, a good amount of TNA in it. To me, those aspects put it just above Fateful Findings, because again, Fateful Findings is just craziness, but Stone Cold has it's a more complete movie, and it has some really weird aspects to it. When we meet Brian Bosworth, it's like a direct ripoff of Cobra. The beginning, it's Cobra, but then they have him in like the Speedo at the beginning. So like that's how we are introduced to our hero. So I will always say that Brian Bosworth should have been the next action star of the 90s, but it came out at the wrong time. So to me, Stone Cold goes, but I wanted to put a little extra pressure on Mark.
Okay. Well, and if I could speak to Fateful Findings, you know, the Stone Cold does have all those things, but Fateful Findings has all those books, and I don't think you want to vote against, you know, literacy in this time.
But Mark doesn't believe that
literacy is under attack right now.
That's true. That is true.
And Neil Breen's got all the books.
But Brian Bosworth is fighting Nazis.
It's fair.
Guys make compelling cases, but the choice was easy for me once the opponent was chosen. It is Stone Cold. Moving on to the final.
Whoa!
It would have only been a tough decision if our girl had moved on to face Stone Cold.
Okay, so if you were going with My Teacher, My Obsession, that would have gone forward.
Ooh, that would have been that. We would have sat here and discussed it a little bit longer. But
and would you have put My Teacher, My Obsession over Stone Cold?
Good question. I think I might have.
Wow.
Yeah, it would have been much closer for me.
Are you not as big of a fate? Are you not at the altar of the Breenius, Mark?
For some reason, I don't. Maybe it's because this is the first one we watched, right? Or was it
This was number 2.
Number 2. I think it's been a while since I watched this movie. Maybe that's hurting it, and maybe I'm mixing all the other Neil Breen movies into my head, not remembering which one this is.
Entirely possible. They all kind of feel the same.
But I don't know. Stone Cold was such a thing that had everything that we want in this podcast, at least to me. It was a movie that very much is easy to make fun of and pick out great moments. There's actually legitimately great scenes in it. It is a movie that basically none of us were very aware of going in, and it exceeded expectations from just the trailer. So everything we want when we pick a movie for this podcast, it was fun to watch. It was fun to talk about. And it is something we'd recommend to people to watch. And that is why, and same thing went for My Teacher, My Exception, not maybe as, it's pretty close, but, you know, not as good of an overall movie. Reason one's a TV movie and one's an actual wide release. I don't even know if Stone Cold is a wide release. I'm going to be giving it too much credit. But it just feels like Stone Cold over Neil Breen. Now, if you would have just put Neil Breen there instead of Fateful Findings, maybe that's just the Neil
overall Neil Breen.
Just Neil Breen. It could have gone far. But yeah, Stone Cold like when I said at the end of the last episode that this right side was very difficult for me, it was because 3 of the 4 I could make arguments. Like if Skyscraper would have beat Stone Cold and been here instead of Fateful Findings, probably would have moved on.
I agree. I think
yeah.
that easily goes above
Yeah.
Skyscraper.
Yeah, like the Skyscraper's the only one on this side that I did not see getting passed into the final. So yeah, but Stone Cold, I also have to represent a choice that was mine on this podcast. I'm very proud that I was able to introduce us all to.
Yeah, I think that might be the biggest upset of the tournament. Honestly, I think a lot of people had Fateful Findings going all the way, and that leaves us with Halloween 3 and Stone Cold. I kind of expected Halloween 3 to go far. That's not a surprise. The Stone Cold is to me. Mark, I think it's your turn to go first.
Yeah. So both of these movies are. If you would have asked me to do this on my own, this would have been my final. So I'm not surprised to see either team here for this one. I think I basically waxed poetic about Stone Cold in the last round, so I'll just do my thing with Halloween 3 here. As Anne has said, that is the movie that made us want to do this. The 31 Days of Horror to one of the movies that I love watching, that I trust you guys with any kind of horror movies you recommend, especially from that time frame. It's Tom Atkins. I am always a fan of bands, movies, directors that just try something different instead of just throwing the same slop out there all the time. It's kind of why, even though it's a part 4, going back to Friday the 13th, why I think that's the best one. They tried a little bit different with that. And Halloween 3 is that to the nth degree. No Michael Myers, no, teens getting killed by a singular killer. It's very much the patron saint of the 31 Days of Horror. If Skyscraper is that for the entire podcast. Our other big moment of October movies. Halloween 3 is there. Stone Cold, love it. I said so much about it in the last thing, so not to go any further. I'm actually, I don't know if this is much a surprise, but I think when I think of this podcast, my first thought is immediately Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. So that is my winner here. It is the movie that I recommend the most when people are asking, especially around in October, a movie they should watch. I immediately do like one of those cartoon slide-ins and go, have you heard of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch? Maybe you should watch that. So definitely that is my winner here.
All right. So we got one for Halloween 3. Ant.
All right. Dan, why don't you go?
Okay. I've been a big proponent of Stone Cold this entire tournament, and I want to go Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Like my body is telling me to do that because this was a movie we all agreed on when we saw it, how much we loved it. And even as Mark mentioned, he's not a huge horror fan, and even Mark was like, "This is my favorite." He loved it. We enjoyed doing it. Stone Cold was obviously, you've also heard me just go to bat for it previously against Fateful Findings. Part of me wants to do the sportsman thing too and just say, Stone Cold tied up 1-1. But I don't want to just say that because I like action movies, but my heart will always be with horror movies. So for that reason, I think I have to go Halloween 3. Yeah, I'm going Halloween 3.
Okay. Well, it's a clean sweep.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to buck the trend. I rode Halloween 3 throughout the entire tournament. I was picking against Stone Cold most of the tournament. I like both movies. If you had to give me a guess of what movies would wind up, these definitely both would have wound up in my final 4 on these. I don't know again, I voted against it, stone cold against Fateful Findings. But yeah, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. One of the main reasons this podcast exists, maybe not the main one, not number one, as we mentioned. Skyscraper was the number one for that, but there was always a plan to do Halloween 3. Stone Cold came out of the woodwork, and we're all better for it because it's one of the most enjoyable movies we've ever covered. A lot of fun, as opposed to the movie we watched this week. It is an incredible dichotomy of the types of movies we watch between like a movie like Stone Cold and then 2099's Soldier Protocol. And that's what you get over 300 episodes. But yeah, Tom Atkins again, laying pipe, child murder, Stonehenge, robots. What else could you ask for from a movie that was supposed to just be another Michael Myers movie?
And a cliffhanger ending.
Cliffhanger ending.
Yeah,
Always good. Freeze frame cliffhanger ending. We love a good freeze frame.
That's true. We haven't had one in a while, I feel like.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you, Ant. I think this movie being the catalyst for us, definitely it holds a special place in our hearts. And that's hard to go. Would this have beaten Fateful Findings as well? I think so. Yeah.
I don't know how many movies. I don't know how many movies would beat Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. Now that I'm thinking of it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, just overall, chairman of the board, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not seeing anything that really pops out.
Yeah, I'd have to go back into our episodes. Like, part of me is like, well, maybe the best Stalked by My Doctor would have a chance. You know.
Yeah.
Which I would say is Patient's Revenge, which is the third one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sleepwalker's the second one?
Sleepwalker's the fourth one.
Fourth one. Okay.
Yeah. I agree with that. The only thing that could have come close would have been a Stalked by My Doctor.
Yeah, I have to go back and to look at what our movies and what off the top of my head. And who's to say, like, you know, Friday Christmas Miracle could have beaten it if it went up against it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because Love on a Leash could have been.
Who knows? Next year, Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2 could have been. No.
Well, you bring up a good point, Mark, and it's something I wanted to kind of broach is if you guys enjoyed this, I would definitely do it again. I enjoyed making it and talking about it.
Yeah.
So I'm open to other ideas as well, to changing it or something different. But I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys did too. I know some people at work were very, very interested in what was going to win, and it made it a little extra fun for me, at least.
Yeah. Like, just looking back, like, what could have given it a run?
Yeah, there's nothing in the horror category that could have.
I tried to stay away from like really, really, really good movies. You know what I mean? Like, we did RoboCop.
I was just going to say, RoboCop is far and away one that would have beaten Halloween 3.
Petey Wheatstraw was an interesting one.
Petey Wheatstraw, that was another one where I was kind of like, I think that's too good. I think that would just like crush whatever it went up against.
Yeah, any of the Miami Connection, Samurai Cop.
Sure.
Yeah,
Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
Yeah, again, more of those where I was just like, well, Samurai Cop would probably annihilate most of these movies.
Yeah.
Out for Justice.
Richie.
Yeah, Out for Justice is just a good movie. So, couldn't do that one.
Yeah, Dan, you did a really good job with the 32 you picked, by the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was fun. Well, we'll have to do it again next March.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm glad you guys had fun.
Mm-hmm. But that is going to wrap us up this week. I clicked away from my notes. Oh. Here we go. Give him 1 second. That's going to wrap us up this week. Check us out on all our socials on TikTok Pod on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. If you are on TikTok, you can find us at They Called Us a Movie. If you have any questions, comments, you want to suggest a movie to us, if you want to suggest some sort of tournament we could do sometime down the future, hit us up, tictanpod@gmail.com. You can also check us out on YouTube, where we are there as well. Just look for They Called This a Movie. And I think those are all the places you get a hold of us. But if you can, take some time out of your busy schedule, go onto your podcatcher of choice, give us a 5-star review. Spotify would be amazing. Apple Podcasts would be great. Really helps us out. And that's it. We don't know exactly what we're going to do next week. Otherwise, we would tell you here. Dan's going to be away, so it's going to be Mark and myself. Might do something a little special in the vein of like the Baywatch Bash of the Beach episode when Mark was away. So stay tuned, and we will be back next week. The director of The Soldier Protocol is Dee McLaughlin. So for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Delvecchio telling Dee McLaughlin, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called This a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called This a Movie.